All right, hi everybody. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing some skill building exercises with ink. You can use ink in a variety of different ways. Obviously ink is kind of the traditional media that's used for comic books, so that's what our project is going to be in. I have a number of tools here with me. The most traditional, right, is an ink pot, and you can either use a quill or a brush like this. And then I also have a palette out here and then a little glass of water so I can dilute my ink, and I'll show you a little bit about that later. I've also got a Sharpie right here, and then just a regular ballpoint pen, so you don't need any fancy materials really to be doing this type of work. And then what we're going to be doing is practicing making shading and then just different types of line work and mark making in order to better decide what kind of projects we want to be making. So I have right here just this piece of paper, and it's got a long bar here and then also a circle. What I want to do is create some shading on that, and so the very first one I'm going to do is called an ink wash. I'm going to write it here, ink wash, and that's what I'm going to be using the pot of ink as well as the brush, the palette here, and then also the water for. So what we want to do is we want to go from light to dark with our ink, and we want to try and get a number of scales, right? We don't want just light and dark. We want to get some more gradation in there. So I'm just going to make a couple more lines, at least 4. We want to try and make it as smooth as possible, and so since we're doing that, if you want to have more in there or you don't want to have any lines at all in your bar, that's totally fine. I just definitely want to see at least 4 levels of value or shading, as you might be more familiar with it. So there's a couple of ways that you can do this. The first way you can do it is by just wetting your entire section. So I'm just gonna take water and I'm gonna put it down. Over. Like so. And before it dries, I am gonna start putting down some ink. So what I can do, since I want this section to be my darkest, I'm gonna take my pen and I'm just gonna dip it directly into the ink pot here. And these are refillable, by the way, so we're just gonna take like a little bit, and you can add more to your ink pot later on, like so. So I've got this really dark section, right? And I wanna start transitioning it to being slightly lighter. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, set down my ink pot here and take my water, and I'm just gonna start drawing it forward, just getting my brush a little bit wet and drawing this ink towards the lighter end of my spectrum here, right? I'll have to go over it a little bit more with water to make it smooth. Like right here, it's a pretty abrupt change. So I might have to add a little bit more ink to that later. But the thing about it is, once you put ink down, you can't really lift it up, right? You can't bring this and make it lighter with water. So it's better to err on the side of caution when you're doing an ink wash. Then I almost went into the ink again. And then just add more ink on top as needed than it would be to just go ham and make everything too dark, So let's see. So I think that this light and this color here, there's some good gradation here, but I think that my dark to mid value here is too abrupt. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some water and I'm gonna put it into my palette like that. And then I'm gonna dip into my ink, just the tip of my brush here. And I'm gonna mix that in. Hopefully that's not too much. I might need some more water. Boop, boop. some extra water here. And I'm just gonna go back over this and try and make the transition, basically kind of try and up my dark values here. So I'm going back in, and now I like that really dark to now this like mid dark, I guess. You could say maybe if this is level 5, then this would be a good level 4. So now I need to go and make sure that there's a big enough difference between, you know, level 3. Like these look very much the same. So take some more water, maybe add just a little bit more here. And I'm gonna go into here again and just darken it up a bit. Right, even though I made that line there, you know, that was just kind of a visual aid. You don't need to keep your values within those lines, so to speak. So 4, 3 might have honestly gotten a little bit too dark there. We'll see. Oh, no, actually, that's pretty good. 4 and 3, maybe 4 needs to be a little darker actually. Darken it up. Like I said, you can always go darker. It's harder to take it away. So we're gonna make 4 a little bit darker. You can see on this paper, this is not great paper for inking. This is just scratch paper. It's starting to ball up a little bit because I'm using so much water. So that shouldn't happen with the higher quality paper that we're gonna be using. But I just want you to be aware. If it's happening, it's because we maybe grabbed the wrong paper. So, you know, this looks like a good layer 5, this looks like a good layer 4. We have 3-ish right here. Maybe darken it just a little more, like so. And then you could say this huge section here is like a 2, right? 2, 3, and then the white of the paper would be my level 1. So that's kind of my grading, my gradation, just in a line form. And then what I'm also gonna show you is just how to do it on a ball. So if you're doing like a rounded form, like faces, or really just about anything else, it's not gonna just be a smooth line like this. You're going to have to figure out how shading works. And to figure out how shading works, you're going to try and figure out where is your light source, right? So since I have this ball here, I'm gonna say my light source is coming from here, right? My upper right corner. So taking my water again, right? Because my first step is to make an ink wash using, well, to make just a wash of water. So I'll take my water, get it nice and wet here. And I might even, if I was thinking, I might not even get the lightest part, right? My level 1, the white. I might not even get that wet on this ball. And then I'm gonna start with my darkest, right? Just go right into my ink pot here. And my darkest part of the ball is going to actually be the opposite side from where my light source is. So I'm just gonna go right into it and follow the contour of my ball. Ooh, that was a lot of ink. And then I'm gonna go into my water, which is getting pretty dirty, and I'm gonna start drawing the ink away from that line there, and try and soften it a little bit. I honestly might have made it a little bit too strong. So I'll probably just have to go back in like what I had to do with level 4 here and, you know, kind of pretty it up a little bit. So I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna have just a bright spot right here on my ball and have some more shading off to the side here. If you're looking for a really quick tip on, you know, drawing something like this, is to not put your lightest part on on the very edge of your rounded object, and not put your darkest edge on the on the edge of the object. And that's just like a really quick kind of shortcut for making it look a little bit more lifelike. So anyway, I'm gonna fix this again, and I'm just gonna go into this color that I made on this palette, right? And I'm just gonna kind of bring it back up. Try and make my 3rd and my 4th values, bringing those into here. sort of like so. Like that. Now you might be like, okay, so I made like a huge mistake at some point. I'm not saying this in particular is a huge mistake. I'm gonna start going back in with water. But rather, you have been working on your comic, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to fix this. Like I somehow got it just doesn't look good. So my suggestion is going to be to either take some white paint, we can go back over it and just kind of make it a mixed media piece, or we can see if we can find some white gel pens and we can just go back into it. And that can actually be kind of an interesting technique for mark making, like so. I'm actually gonna darken up the edge one more time because I think I lost it a little bit. Darken it up, like so. And then I'm just gonna give it like a cast shadow, right? It's sitting on something. So we're just gonna go like this. Make it sit like there, like it's on top of something, right? So then the light's going over it. It would actually go out a little bit more, like that. So I've got my darks, my darkest darks here, and then mid-range values, and then my lighter values right here where it bounces off of the ball. So I want you guys to try this on your own. Make a long rectangle, make a ball, and then shade from light to dark using an ink wash.